Hey guys, I want to talk about what went wrong with AGI, what went wrong with OpenAI, Anthropic, okay, and why they're worse than WeWork. Like, what went wrong with those guys? Where did it all go wrong? This time last year, I can tell you a lot of people just barely heard about AI, barely heard about ChatGPT. DeepSeek just came out, so it was fairly new. It looked like they were going to take over the world, but things have gone really bad. Like, if you haven't seen it, it's coming. Some people are really optimistic about the future of AI. Some companies are fighting for it actively. In fact, I know companies, there are a lot, sorry, I shouldn't say I know companies. There are a lot of companies, just search online, and you see a lot of companies that are forcing their employees to use AI, okay? Which didn't happen. In the internet, no one forced you to use the internet. Replace the word internet with AI, and see how ridiculous it sounds. Because the internet was important, you needed a website, you needed everything, you needed a computer. It was needed, it wasn't forced. Okay. Right now, people are forced, like you're being forced to use AI. And when that happens, there's a reason. Okay. It's as simple as when people were forced to go back into the office. Okay. When you're forced like that, there's a reason behind it. Yeah. Either because people have to pay for the office, the CEOs are paid for it, and the government want people to go back to the office so all the businesses around there can survive. The same thing as well. If you're being forced to use AI, there's something behind it. And it's worth looking into. Okay. So I want to talk about that. Okay. So here's why. And I want to pick one because again, I don't like talking, blasting people that come out to talk about these things. But I want to talk about, people who compare them to WeWork, right? And I'll talk about WeWork. I'll talk about OpenAI and Anthropic and the difference between them. Okay. So let's start with the CEOs. WeWork, for those who don't know, WeWork was a sort of office sharing setup. So what they did was they did a lot of office sharing, especially just before COVID, whereby if you wanted to rent an office space, instead of renting an office, which was quite expensive, it still is expensive to rent an office. Rather than that, you could just share. Okay, so especially if you have to commute, if you're the one man or two man company, it's no point going to rent a tiny office and you pay so expensive cost as well, right? When you can share the cost with other businesses, you can rub minds with other businesses. So it became a very good idea to actually share office. And we do the same as well. So we share some offices location. We're in about 7 countries, so we have to share. Okay, and clearly, sorry, I haven't introduced myself. I'm the CEO of Aruka. Aruka is a smart payment ring that combines with MoneySave. I'm also the CEO of MoneySave. So MoneySave on Aruka just allows you, imagine your fintech app, but without a phone, without a card, without a wallet, without a POS terminal, just everything on your wrist. So this is your bank. If you're a business owner, this is your POS. You can just tap to pay, or you can tap to receive money. Okay, so we started this late last year, and we're in 55 countries. So again, you see this and it looks cute. So this is actually a payment device. So if I tap this on your phone, you're paying me, right? So think about if you're a restaurant owner, you don't have to walk around with a POS box anymore. In fact, those are being, I'll see anyway. It depends on how many people we can get to. But a lot of businesses are actually ordering this from us. So what you can do is you can design this to your colors, or you can just have these and then people come in and they buy this from you, or new joiners can get this and wear it. So if you're a waiter, you just tap to pay. So you don't have to say how much is it, it's because the customer has it on their phone. Customers pay with their phones these days. So if they are ready to pay, they wait around instead of you to go back and forth to the POS terminal. You can just tap, they pay you, and that's you get a notification on the back end. On the other side as well, same thing. Instead of walking around with your phone or wallet, worrying about your battery. So my battery just came up there. The battery is 5% at the moment. So there you go. If I had to go out, I'm stuck. So instead of paying with your phone, you're paying with your wallet, wherever you are, you can just pay with this. And these have no batteries as well. So there you go. If you've listened to me long enough, these things have no batteries. We avoid batteries as much as possible because, again, phones are already complex enough. So my phone, I can tell you, is very complex. The software updates almost every 2 weeks now. The devices on it, what we do on it is just a lot. So let's not rely on it for payments. Okay, and that's where we come in. So check us out, www.uruka.com. Where was I? So I was talking about WeWork. So WeWork again was a shared office environment where you could just have to pay. It was a shared office environment where you could just go in, okay, and you could then share your office with other people, which was a very good idea. Okay, and it's not like there was anything crazy with it as well. But the downside with those things was that it was too expensive. So I'll talk about the CEOs first. So the CEOs again came in, and the guy was very charismatic guy. Adam, I think was his name. Check out the Adam, CEO of WeWork. So he was very charismatic. He walked around with no shoes. Okay, so he had this kind of cult-like fellowship where people really liked him. and which is always the case. So a lot of people that order my rings because they like me. Okay, you can go into one of the big boys. You can go to Aura and order a ring from Aura. They don't care about you. You can go to Apple, order an Apple. I think Apple don't. Okay, they don't have a ring, but you can have a watch. But we look at it on the fashion side of things. We're closer to our customers, so that's what most CEOs do, right? So most CEOs are always very close to their customers, especially if you're charismatic and you're really passionate about your product, which is what customers want to see. Customers want to see a bland person in front of you, right? You want to see people who's passionate about the product, and that makes you want to buy it. Or if you already like the product, then you're even more drawn to that product because of that. So WeWork was like that. Okay, now, but here's the difference why I don't think people should compare WeWork to Anthropic or OpenAI. He was really on about the social element, and I like people who focus on the future. So if you look at history, okay, we as humans, we like, the social element is important, the continuity is important for us. I mean, we don't want to have kids. Okay, kids are so expensive. Natural instinct is to have kids. If you see a child, you think the child is cute. We all want to grow, we all want to have our own kids, even though we're not going to be here to see our great grandkids. Okay, but we're not selfish. Okay, that's where the selfishness comes in, right? We're not selfish, that we want to make sure that we have people on this earth when we go. If we only cared about ourselves, we would not be here. If we only cared about, I don't know, yeah, about just our money and our own upkeep, we would go and spend all our money and die at 85. But we have kids. Okay, it's just natural instinct. Okay, no matter if you're not religious, it's a natural instinct. Okay, no matter who you serve, which God you follow, which religion you follow, naturally we want to have kids for the future. Otherwise, you're selfish. Otherwise, you just want to die. Or if you have an issue where maybe you can't have birth, for health reasons or anything like that, then it makes sense. Health reason wise, that's okay. But people just say, hey, kids are expensive, or hey, I want to have my money and die. I'm going to pass it to my dog. Okay, but then there are dogs all over the world, and there are no humans. That's different. So that's me thinking why I liked WeWork. Work had a social element to it. I think they had an office party, they had beer, they had a few things where it was expensive. Don't get me wrong. It was a bubble, which I'll talk about OpenAI. It was a bubble, okay, because people still have shared offices today. Have shared office. There's quite a few. I don't want to plug anyone's there because they're not paying me. But there are a few people who have shared offices, and they're doing very, very well. So those guys are doing very well. They're doing well because they've priced the product at to what makes sense. So they price it to say, okay, this is how much it is for the product. This is how much our stock price is, and that's it. But he was a bit greedy, and that's where the bubble came in, and people were spending billions and billions on an office space. It's just an office. There were nothing more. The social element was there where you could clock in, clock out, join events and things like that, which is good. It was priced out. I see all that talk about OpenAI and these guys, Anthropic, Dario and Sam Altman, are very different from these guys. So please don't compare them. I'll tell you why. Because these guys, the goal, yeah, and if you listen to their goal is only on one thing only: to replace humans and lose jobs. Like when they talk, and think about the narrative, right? And as a CEO, you really have to go into narratives a lot. I realize this is being long, but guys, it's important to talk about why these companies are failing. Okay, why they fail. So they fail when they go for the wrong narrative. So the narrative, I think, for this guy, what do you call it? WeWork was just, hey, social, 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 without looking at the business side of things. Because as a business person, yes, you care about the social side of things, but you care about a good deal, you care about great offices, you care about being able to pay rent, you care about being able to pay your staff. That's more important than the social side. On the other side, OpenAI and Anthropic, what's more important to them right now? Losing jobs, replacing humans, releasing dangerous versions. Okay, think about it. Everything they say, at the end of the conversation, is always about three things. Okay, and it's the same thing, three things. Number one is always about, oh my goodness, if we don't do it, China are going to do it. There's a war going on. We have to win the war. We have to win the AI race. You win in the AI race. You're the one with the money. And number one. And number two, okay, because again, you're worried about China, but this phone is from China. Everything we're doing is from China anyway. So we have the economic advantage. China have the manufacturing advantage. So that's it. But when they go in and say, hey, this is coming from China. Oh, please, then it has to be this. Okay, well, let's go all the way down. How many things are you producing in the US? How many things are you producing? Like the batteries, the coolants, everything, all the machinery, all the way to the screw is coming from China. So who are you really deceiving here, right? So we have to be careful when people say things like that. Or they come around and the next thing they say is, oh, it's going to take over our jobs. There's an argument there, right? Now I'm going to leave that there because I don't know. Okay, a lot of people have become experts in these things. So we don't know the future. But what we do know is that as a CEO, you should not be selling that. So if you're selling that, I don't trust you already. If my job was to say, hey, imagine, so I've got a narrative to push with this. How about that? So with my rings, you can tap to pay. So my ring, what I can say is we are putting banks out of jobs. That's possible. I can say that, right? Because at the end of the day, banks have to now work with us. right? So banks have to go in and say, hey, we have a card that we can pay, or we have a ring. So banks are coming to us and say, hey, my customers want rings. Give us rings. So I'm giving rings to banks, okay? And I can do that. So my narrative can be, hey, we're killing banks. Banks are going to die in the next few years, okay? I can say that. That's a narrative. But think about that for a minute. That means everyone who works in a bank today will be out of work. That's not what you want to sell, okay? You see what I'm saying? You can go negative or you can go positive. What kind of person are you, right? And that's what matters. So that's the same thing with these guys when they say, hey, AI is going to take over our jobs. AI is so dangerous. 50%, I'll quote this, 50% of jobs will be redundant. People will be out of jobs. That is their narrative. Okay, that's positive. That's not good humans. That's not people who care about humanity. Not to talk of caring about you. So it's not about you there. If you choose, there are two narratives to go with. If you choose the negative, right? And people argue and say, oh, they're choosing negative because it's going to make headlines. These guys are already in the headlines. They don't need the headlines. They're already there. They're there. I mean, if you open everything that is always on TV is always one. OpenAI is always on Anthropic, is always on AI. So you're already there, but you choose to go negative. That's a problem. I mean, look, compare that to Elon Musk. However, I don't, again, have my problems with Elon Musk. But Elon Musk doesn't go with Grok AI that he has. He doesn't go negative. He doesn't say, oh, this is going to take over the job of moderators. He could choose that. He could say there'll be no more moderators on X. But he chooses to go on the meme side of things, on the joke side of things, right? And that shows the kind of person he is, you know? I'm not saying he's a good person, by the way. Let's get that straight. I'll talk about Elon separately. And a separate video, I'm going to talk about him. But in fact, no billionaire or trillionaire today, right now, is a good person. That's just my rule. If someone has $1 trillion and there's hunger somewhere, and you don't literally see that person give so much money away, and there's a problem. And that's why the issue I have with Bill Gates. So I'm already moving the topics here. I'll come back, trust me. But that's what Bill Gates, for instance, you could visibly see him. Like someone is so rich, and they're so rich that you can see their wealth. If they're so rich that you can see their wealth, they should be so rich that you can see them give away the wealth as well. Which is what you see with Mr. Beast. It's what you see with people like that who are so rich. Again, I give money because I'm poor. Okay, I'm poor, so I give money, but you don't see me. You don't see it out there because it's commensurate to what I have. So if I'm worth 1 million, I give away 100K, it's not going to make headlines. Okay, it's nothing. That's nothing. But if you're worth 1 trillion and give away 100 million, trust me, it's going to be in the press. Unless you don't. Yeah, and that tells a lot about you. Anyway, so let's go back to the difference between these guys. So these guys are very negative in that sense that they go for the most negative side of things. I understand this is a rant, okay, but I just want to talk about the difference between them. That's the persons or the CEOs. Now let's go into the actual companies. So here's the problem I have why I don't think you should compare WeWork to OpenAI and Anthropic and all these guys. Number one, WeWork had buildings. OpenAI, Anthropic, they have abstracts. So all they have is model IP. So the IP address is model driven. They have talent as well. So talent is so expensive in the AI world. Okay, makes sense. And then you have the brand as well. So the brand I think is important. Maybe ecosystem, but the ecosystem can't stay on its own. So we have an AI bracelet, okay? By the way, we're working on this. So check it out. We're working with the Bank of England, the FCA, and 3 more central banks that I can't disclose yet. But they're going to be AI rings. So that means you can talk to the ring and say, hey, please send. So instead of tapping to pay, you can talk to pay. Please pay $5,000. $5,000. That's how granular it is, right? You don't have to say, please pay $5,000 to John anymore. You're going to say, please pay $5,000. We would know that $5,000 means $5,000 and then pay down. That relies on AI. So we're using AI. But the question now becomes, which AI do we use? Yeah, and that's where it comes in, because if the ring is in China, then we can say, hey, we're going to use DeepSeek, because China will say, hey, we want DeepSeek. Or if the ring is in Europe, we don't have our own AI yet. But if the AI is coming from Europe, guess what? The Europeans are going to say, you're not going to use ChatGPT because our information is going to go out there to the US. So it has to be local. So the future is going to be, one, you can have the ecosystem, but it's going to be very, very much, country driven. Okay. And that's where I see the future going. So even though they claim, OpenAI might claim to have a model, they might claim to have the AI in place and all that, what's most likely going to happen is that they have to open source it at some point, or they have to sell it on. And the question now becomes, if you have a lot of competition, the price goes down. Okay. So the other point as well becomes obviously the capital expenditure, which I think is cheaper. So we were complaining about WeWork, and that's why they failed, right? So WeWork failed because the capex or the valuation was so high. We're spending so much on rent, so much to pay back landlords and the lease, so much to pay for the extra activities, okay, that we started losing money, millions of cash, millions they were losing, and it went down. We see that repeating right now with OpenAI and ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, those guys are spending a lot on capex, a lot. They're losing money. I mean, last time they raised 200 billion with a B. I mean, OpenAI. And they're losing roughly now about 6 billion per month or per day, which is crazy. They're spending 6 billion per day. So they're losing a lot. Like the more they raise, the more they lose, which reminds you of everything else that always goes down. At some point, they have to raise money more or go into the capital market. But if you go into the capital market to raise money, okay, again, sorry, I'm going to be tech here, but if you go into list your shares that you go into the capital market, if you go list your shares for sale, okay, how much are you listing it for? They want to claim 1 trillion. So if you go for 1 trillion, think about that for a minute. 1 trillion, guess who's going in as well? So when they list on the stock market, ChatGPT want to list, Anthropic want to list, that's 2 trillion easily. SpaceX wants to list, that's 3 trillion. How much money do you think we have in the capital market? Capital market is basically investors, because it's the same investors that have to buy Anthropic. Same investors are buying OpenAI. Same investors are buying SpaceX. It's concentration risk. So what they have to do is either diversify or pick one against the other. Because again, investors are going to turn to you and say, hey, if you're bored, the board will say you're not going to invest in all three. You have to invest in one or the other. So all they're doing is waiting for capital market, and the capital market means that the price is going to drop immediate because it becomes open. Investors out there, I mean, we want to go into the hype. But the question now becomes every hype drops, right? We saw that with Tesla, we saw that with WeWork. Yeah, the hype goes in, and as soon as possible, it drops as quickly because people can see where the money is going. You're not paying someone a dividend, and they pay what they pay, even if they give their simply 1,000. If they put 1,000 in there and they go into a stockbroker doesn't pay, there's no dividend, they're going to take their money and put it somewhere else. They don't want to hold it for the sake of holding it. So it's one of those things where, again, it looks like it's going to be in trouble. Talked about valuation, which is a problem. And there's also regulation as well. So right now, these guys are in private markets, okay, which is okay. Regulators are keeping an eye on it, but are quiet about it. It changes completely when you become a listed market, because you go in and you now have your stock, you have to disclose financials, which is a lot. It's very detailed. SpaceX has been around for years. There's a reason. And I know Elon Musk, right? He's one of those guys that talks a lot of, so I won't be surprised if he doesn't list. I won't be surprised if he's just saying that such that the price keeps going up and he just never lists. Because when you go into listing, people want to see all the contracts. You have to put it, it's public. There's nothing you can do. You have to show it. And every quarter, you have to show exactly what you're selling, how much you're selling. All the disclosures are a lot that's needed. If you don't, they delist you immediately. And if you go on the stock exchange and you get delisted, the price goes down immediately. Investors take you down, right? So that's a problem, which I think regulation will be an issue, especially on the models as well, especially on how much they claim subscriptions and active users. And because again, you can use it every day. But my prediction becomes that if OpenAI start charging a lot and they start putting ads in there, people are just going to go into Google. Because already OpenAI is in Google, mind you. So at the end of the day, when you go to OpenAI, you're searching for information, which Google does anyway. You're searching for videos, Google does that as well. So what will happen is Google can turn around and say, hey, we're selling ads already, we're good financially, and they either buy them over or they pass it on. So that's it. Again, I want to talk about just reality check, right? So the idea is, guys, you have to be careful what people say. Okay, always read behind their thoughts and emotion. Again, I'm talking to you here, right? You can tell. If you can't tell what my end goal is, there's a problem. Then ask me or go search, right? So my end goal is simple. I want to create awareness of my product. I want to make sure everybody on earth today, they're wearing with a ring, they can tap to pay wherever they are, or they can tap to receive. If your battery died, I'm not saying you should. Again, a lot of people argue and say, hey, I'm still going to need my phone. That's true. You're watching this on a phone. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind you having a phone, but we shouldn't rely on the phone too much. Yeah. Again, I came up with this idea because my friend got stabbed for his phone, actually, in London. So in London, he was walking around, got out of the station, and someone grabbed his phone, grabbed his wallet, and stabbed him. So again, if you're wearing a ring, how quickly can you take this off? Someone's waiting to, and then guess what? When you take it off, what happens? We're connected so that at the end of the day, what they take, right now I've got $200 on this, £200, whatever it is. That's it. That's all they can take. Full stop. And when they tap 1, 2, 3 times, we stop the payment, right? Because you have to put a pin. Better still, if you have a health ring, we have health and payment rings. The health and payment rings, when you put it on, we can check the statistics so that we know your health vitals. So that if for some reason your heart rate was this and then it jumped to that, we wouldn't allow you make payment until it goes back down to what it was, right? And that's the future as well. Biometric validation is what we call it. And that's something that will be the future, and it offers extra protection for customers. So if I'm doing something, if I'm selling something, I'm talking to you because I'm selling my rings, my bracelets for payments. If Jensen, who is in charge of NVIDIA, is talking to you, he wants to sell you chips. He's not saying it because he wants the US to win a war against China. No, he wants to sell you chips. Like that's it. If he doesn't want China, if he doesn't want China to win, guys, you know what he can do, right? All he has to do is not sell to China. All he has to do is make sure that he brings down the price for the guys in the US. How about that? Yeah, because a lot of people argue and say, oh, yeah, he's really, 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 he cares about the US because we don't want the US to win. Well, if you don't want the US to win, bring down the price of the chips. Make it free for everyone, right? If you make it free for everyone, guess what? Everyone in the US is going to have it. The US have won, right? So, guys, let's be smart. The same thing with Sam Altman. Sam Altman is like, oh, goodness, this is going to take over the jobs in the future. But everything is going to be AGI. We're going to be working 3-day weeks, right? In that case, then do me a favor. Show a pilot case where you've given AI and it's 3-day weeks in one small country. How about that? Pick a small state and everybody in that state should use AI and let's see how it saves 50% of the job force. Let's see that you can show it a lot these days, right? I've got my ring and I claim, oh, this ring you can tap to pay. That's okay. You go online, you're going to see a lot of people tapping to pay with their rings. If you haven't seen it, you can go on our page or you just order one, www.ruka.com. Order one and that's it. But if for some reason you can't see anything, there's no validation, and every day I keep telling you can tap to pay with these rings, surely at some point you'd say, Patrick, that's not true. Yeah, sorry. That's not true. You're selling snake oil salesman. So that's the point. So if you're claiming that the future is going to be AGI is going to be the future, and you've been in the business and you're quoting billions at this stage, you have to be honest. You're just selling AI, and be honest and say it. Okay. So I'll stop there for now. Bit of a rant. I have to get back to work for my customers. All the best, and catch you in the next one. Take care.